too inexperienced at certain parts and not enough help. But when Liverpool even put the big hitters on, they could have been playing till tomorrow and they still wouldn't have scored. Everything went centrally. Everything went into to Fulham's numbers and has done for, well, since their trouble started at home. Liverpool's plan B is to play like plan A, but with different personnel. Same central areas all the time. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson not getting enough help in front of them. So the onus is on the two fullbacks to get to the byline, to get crosses in. And, of course, they can't do that because they're fullbacks. They need more help. But, you know, you saw at certain times Liverpool just went sideways and sideways because every pass was into the centre of the penalty area where Fulham were at their most condensed and at their strongest. They need to go right back to the drawing board, Liverpool, and sort out a system of how to break teams down, because all the teams, I've got them sussed out now, no problem at all. Let them play wide, crosses into the box, we'll win it every single time, and they have done that.
Are you now worrying for their Champions League hopes?
Yes, definitely, yeah. I think their only way back into the Champions League is to win the Champions League.
2 games down then, 2 to go on this Matchday Live Sunday. Confirmation of that goalless draw at the Hawthorns earlier on Matchday Live, and a famous Fulham victory. In terms of the games to come, well, some really big games. The Manchester derby and a London derby as well, Tottenham against Crystal Palace. In terms of the bottom of the Premier League table, it's now just goal difference, keeping Fulham in the relegation zone with 10 to play for Scott Parker's side. At the top of the table, well, Liverpool 4 points off the Champions League spots, but West Ham and Everton have 2 games in hand, and Chelsea, Manchester United have played just 27. Steve, do you agree with Harrison Reed there? Liverpool didn't want it as much as Fulham?
No, I don't agree with that. I think Liverpool's quality was severely lacking. I don't think that when anybody goes out on a pitch that they don't want it as more or less than the opposition. And I think Liverpool improved dramatically in the second half, but I just don't think the quality was there. Once it failed a certain way of breaking down this Fulham defence, Liverpool just continued just to batter against the same object at all. And Anderson and Toyson were brilliant centrally, and then they put Lamina in front, particularly in the second half, and they've got something to hold on for. Yeah. And I've got no problem the way Fulham played. I thought they were excellent. They were very savvy in the way they played in the first half, changed it in the second half, and held on quite comfortably. But I don't think that you can throw that adage out, oh, they just wanted it more than that. Liverpool had extenuating circumstances today. I thought the team selection dictated how they played, and it just carried on throughout the game. They couldn't get into the game in the second half. Everybody's already said about this Fulham team that they draw too many games. Well, that's an answer to that question, isn't it? And 14 points from their last 10 matches. They've turned a corner.
Yeah, they have. You know, since January, I think they've taken the shackles off. They brought Madger in, as he said, and I think what they've done is said, look, we know we're going to lose games in this division, but I think they were being very cautious up until Christmas, not trying to lose, trying to hold on to things, but they've just thrown caution to the wind and said, like, let's go out. If we're going to go out, let's go out fighting. And they've got point after point, and I think in some of the games we talk about, 14, they've been unlucky. You know, certainly I watched them against Spurs during the week, and, you know, shouldn't have come away without something there, and they have, but they've come here today and they've been on the front foot and rode their luck a little bit in the second half. I think Liverpool never looked like they were really going to break them down, but they held out and got the result they deserved. And a huge moment, wasn't it, just before the half-time whistle from Mario Lamina, his first goal in a Fulham shirt, Steve? Yeah, cross comes into the box, Andy Robertson clears it, but let's say at half-time, Mo Salah's sloppy. You know, you can't just control it. Once you're on the edge of the box, you know you've got bodies in and around you and pressure behind. And Lamina robs the ball quite legitimately off Mo Salah, but more importantly, he smashes it into the bottom corner. It's a lovely finish from him, wasn't it? What does this do then, Les, for Fulham's survival chances? It's just gone out. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at it now. Before the game, we were saying that, you know, both Brighton and Newcastle will be looking at this, hoping that Liverpool get a win today. They've got good momentum at the moment, and if there's any team that you look at that bottom, they are the form team in that bottom 6, and you look at them and you think if there's a team that's going to get out of it, it's probably going to be Fulham. Yeah. A massively significant 3 points for Scott Parker. What about Jurgen Klopp? It was always going to be a risk, was it, with those 7 changes, Steve? Huge risk, yes. Huge risk. On the back of 5 consecutive defeats, it's not as if you're 10 points clear and you think, I'll put everybody in and it doesn't really matter how it gets on. The pressure was on Liverpool today hugely
You know, yes, we'll talk about the Champions League game in 3 or 4 days' time, but you have to remember that they're 2-0 up in that game. So you could feasibly have played your strongest side out today. We don't know whether people have got knocks or injuries or whatever who sat on the bench, which of course, sometimes you have to make changes. But you start with your strongest team and then you take people off. You can't just start with the team that they had, and they struggled from the offset, no problem about it. That right-hand side of the pitch was too weak and too inexperienced, and it really cost them today. They made changes when they had to, but they were panic changes, put all the big hitters on, let's see if we can get a result. But it's hard then to raise the level and the tempo of the game from low, like it was in the first half, to, you know, we're panicking now, let's get up there.
And Les, listen to this, excluding penalties and own goals, they've had 115 shots without scoring a Premier League goal at Anfield. They did have chances, though, didn't they, the champions, in the second half? They
did have chances, clear cut or not. You know, I mean, this is for me. This was probably their best chance, and it was a great strike and a great save. But whereas in the past, that, you know, things will drop down, it will drop them down to a Liverpool player. It's not at the moment, and they're just finding it hard to create what I'd call clear cut chances. You know, this a looping header. And again, no Liverpool player for the rebound. You know, Mo Salah gets the touch on the far post, but then no one in the box for the rebound. And this was just Liverpool throughout the game. It was just throw things in there. That's a great clearance, to be fair. But again, just nothing clear cut. No one-on-one. The goalkeeper's not really.
You see them, Les? They're just crosses, hopeful crosses into the box. That's not Liverpool of 2 years ago. That's not Liverpool of last year. Liverpool would just cut through teams with pace, counter-attacking football everywhere. Now it's cross. And
there's a hope. It's just a hope.
It's hopeful, yeah.
Well, let's get the non-emotional side in terms of the top 4 race from you, Les, because there is still a chance, isn't there? I mean, look, you know, West Ham have got those 2 games in hand on them now, but it's so tight, 43 points up to 47 Chelsea.
It is tight. They're not out of it. Of course they're not, you know, because, you know, this could turn around in one game. But, you know, when you make 7 changes to your side.
So Fulham have the lead at half-time, Liverpool 0, Fulham 1 in the second game of this Matchday Live Sunday. Steve McManaman and Les Ferdinand in the studio with me. A deserved lead, Macca, isn't it, for the visitors?
Yeah, Fulham have been excellent. Can't take anything away from them. Liverpool have been really disappointing yet again. 7 changes, and he hasn't had any of the effect. Here's the goal. Clearance, of course, drops to Mo Salah. Lamina just wants it more, is more aggressive. Pokes it off Salah. Well, he's at fault, of course he is, because he loses the ball in a dangerous area. But you have to credit Lamina. He's just more aggressive, pushes Mo Salah out the way, and more importantly, smashes it right in the bottom of the net like that. So that's what you want from Fulham.
And what a way to score it. First goal for Fulham on loan from Southampton, of course, Les.
Yeah, great finish. And, you know, Mo Salah on the edge of the box, you've got to know if the ball's coming out to you, you're going to get challenged there. So he's not strong enough. Lamina nicks it off him, and then it's just the composure to finish as well as he did into that bottom corner.
Is there an argument it should be more than one? Josh Maggie's had a say, hasn't he?
He's had a say. They've exploited Liverpool's weaknesses, exactly where Liverpool's weaknesses are where we said before the game. Anything into that area between Nat Phillips and Nico Williams is causing them all kinds of problems. And Josh Maggie's just doesn't get the desired connection. But they've always looked dangerous from minute one. This hasn't just been in the last 5 minutes. They've utilised that space over there on that side of the pitch, and you know, Liverpool have made 7 changes, but have significantly weakened the starting 11, haven't they? And they look all over the place, Liverpool, at the moment.
Well, you mentioned those 2 centre-backs. It's the 19th combination in all competitions this season, which is just incredible.
And what we said was that your Fulham would probably look at that and say, can we exploit it? And I think this man, Lookman, down the left-hand side, is cut in so many times and found himself. And you know, the thing with him, it's not clever runs, it's just straightforward, basic runs.
Basic runs, yeah.
They're getting into these positions and one-on-one, and he's been a threat from the start right up until, you know, they scored the goal. And every time he gets it, it looks like he's going to cause a problem for Liverpool.
Yeah, they've got a problem down that side.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't necessarily want to focus on the 2 young centre defenders or the 2 inexperienced, but it's that chunk of the right-hand side. Nico Williams doesn't know whether to stick or twist, whether to run forward or defend like this, because there's no confidence there. He's getting no help at all off Shaqiri. You see him, he's still by the halfway line. He's not interested in getting back and wants to play centrally. So the fact that they've got a lot of young lads on that right-hand side of the pitch, this left-hand side as we look, because we're talking about Fulham, they need help. Yes, we can criticise them, and everybody deserves to be criticised because they're playing in Liverpool's first team. But the experienced players need to realise we are struggling over here. We need to help out these younger kids. We need to stand in front of them and just help them out and calm the situation, and they're not. It's like every man for himself at the minute. There's a lot of selfish players out there, and you see the stats. You don't expect Liverpool to have stats like that against the team in the bottom three.
You feel for Nico Williams a bit, don't you? Because in terms of the instructions, obviously they want to get forward, and it's the trust then for those centre-backs. What does Jurgen Klopp do in terms of the second half? I mean, Mac is saying it might not be too long before we see Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, I think they'll make changes because they'll see they're getting exploited down there, and sometimes you want to put youngsters in and give them an opportunity, and I'm all for that, but you can't expose them in the way that they're being exposed at the moment. You've put 3 in there and they're not being given the help that they need by the senior players, and so you need to bring someone in that's going to try and show them up and help them. Exactly, because they're going to get judged on that, and I just think it's unfair.